Hey guys, so yesterday I think I spent about 11 hours working on the mill. I got it started and it had a funny sound, which I think is coming from the centrifugal clutch. I'm hoping it's coming from the centrifugal clutch. I watched a couple other people's HM130MAX videos and I think I noticed at idle that when the clutch is loose you hear a kind of a pinging sound. So it sounds like a bad bearing or something as well. But when they rev it up to cut the wood, the sound dissipates, or completely disappears actually. So I'm hoping it's the clutch being prior to engaging. It's making a funny sound, and I think it's standard for the clutch. We'll find out. I'm going to put in an email today. I'm missing some pieces. Like I said yesterday, I'm missing some leveling feet, and I'm missing the lower hose for delivering lubricant to the blade. I only got one hose in the kit. Not a big deal, except they're not open. It's a Sunday, so they're not open to beg them to hurry up and ship that stuff out to me. I do want all the leveling legs before I put logs on the mill. But while I have the opportunity today, I'm rethinking how I had the mill leveled. I had the mill on a taper, and so that the mill head could basically roll on its own. It would slowly glide across. If I let go, it would slide to the end. And I thought, hey, this is great. The mill will guide itself. I won't have to push any pressure on it. A little light pressure maybe just to keep the throttle on and guide it. And that'll work out really well. But I think now that I'm thinking about it, backing the mill up to the beginning and then not being able to lock it in place in any way without jury rigging something, and then to go over and drive over and put a log on, it wants to glide down the tracks. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to level it completely today as best I can. The ground slopes there are pretty bad, and so the idea is I'm going to go to the far end and I'm going to maximize all those feet, and then I'll work my way back until everything's re-leveled, and that'll take a long time today to do that. And then I'll go in and do a few more things. I'll let the motor idle again, let it run and listen to it, and probably that's all I can do today. We'll see. Maybe I'll get ambitious and maybe I will put a smaller log on, because I want to weight the track down. I want to push down on the ground below it and compact that earth. That's new dirt that we just got put in. That's that remanufactured, or not remanufactured. That's recycled concrete aggregate. So it needs to be tamped down, and all I can do is hit it with the backhoe. So putting a log on it should help pack it down, and then I can check level again. I think it's going to be a process every week or so to check level as we get more rain or. So I've brought these nuts all the way up as high as I'm comfortable having them. And I'm gonna raise the frame up to meet, and then I'm gonna work my way back one at a time. That's the whole plan, really. So, in order to install the bottom latch, which keeps the protective shield from clanging and keeps it from popping open, I suppose, you have to raise the whole mill head up. And when it was on the pallet, the instructions said to do that, but when it was on the pallet, I didn't feel comfortable raising it up in the air. It was teetering the way I had it set up on the wood. So now that it's on, I'm actually going to install it today. So it's pretty simple. Once the head's up, it's pretty easy to do. The whole mill, other than being sloped, is also slightly torqued out of true, meaning that this side sits further back than this side. The whole thing is kind of crooked. So in order to fix that, what I think I'm going to do is, since I know these are squared in 90 degrees, is I'm going to adjust these one way or the other, and then I'm going to let the mill come forward until it touches one of the two. I'm going to loosen up all the bolts that hold the mill together, and then reposition it, kind of give it a twist into position, and then retighten them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up over a bunk, and I'm going to measure the blade height on both sides, make sure the height is correct from bunk to bunk. I believe it is. I should probably back up. Oh. 11 1/4. So what I'm doing is I'm holding this guy in place. Excuse me, holding this guy in place here. The bolt has a head on it, and then with my other crescent wrench I'm tightening the nut on the back side of the tab. And I saw a video where somebody else had complained that over time the tab, the steel tab that's welded onto the frame here that I'm using to adjust, can bend, and then the head will droop on one side more than the other. So it's something to look at and keep an eye on as you do your cuts, is to make sure that your cuts, especially for a wide plank, right, are the same width on both sides. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, it's not laser precise, but at least for the front bunk, it's dead on. Okay, so that's cool. So that was with, of course, with tension on the blade. We did all that, right? We tensioned the blade. This has a 1/4 inch of deflection. So I think we're there. The next thing we have to do is check tracking. So they're saying that you want about 3/8 of an inch from, let's see, from the wheel to the tip of the blade. So it's about here, optimally. That's really hard to eyeball. Shoot, really hard to eyeball. I'd say it's closer to 2/8. Yeah. I'd say it's closer to 2/8, but it's even on both sides, right? I'm using my fingers to feel the difference, top and bottom, right? To make sure that it's running true. And it feels like it's closer to flush here. That's pretty close to flush here. Yeah. That's right. Let's check it everywhere. Make sure. Okay. Feels all right. I'm going to reduce the tension. Always reduce the tension when you're not using the saw, so you don't get flat spots. The next thing we're going to do is dig up our feeler gauges, and I'm going to address all of these. So now that it's running true, the blade guide in the back behind the blade should be adjusted for the proper distance on both sides, so that when you're pushing into a log and the blade is being pushed back against the guide, it's actually not going to come off the back of the wheel. And let's see here. And then the up and down, there's guides top and bottom, and there's instructions in the manual on the amount of distance between these guides and the blade. So I'm going to grab the manual. So there's a bolt in the rear towards the frame. We'll loosen that up a little, and that allows the whole guide to move forwards and backwards. So, and then we put a 0.04 inch feeler gauge behind it, or a thick piece of paper, they say, and that's it. And holding it there, drop my feeler gauge. Holding it there, we can retighten this bolt in the back. So let's see here. There we go, 0.04 inch feeler gauge. Snug it tight. And that's it. There we go. So it's just enough so that it's not touching normally. And of course, these we have loosened up, top and bottom. And for the top and bottom guides, you want 0.02 inch gap between them. It's a little harder to do here, but we can do it. So I put my 0.02 in. Helps if I loosen them up everywhere. And there goes my guide. Okay. Oh, interesting. They're two-sided. So I guess if they wear down on one side, you can always put them in the other way. So here we go. I've got my 0.02 inch feeler gauge between the blade and the guide, and I'm using the Allen key to tighten it up. Ow! To snug it up a little. And same in the front. Maybe a less cheap Allen key for the future. And that's really a close tolerance right there. Then you want to do the same for the upper guide. Get your feeler gauge in there. Maybe a little easier said than done. Ow. Come on. I think what I'm going to do is hold it up in the air. Maybe by lift it up a little, grab it. Okay, now my feeler gauge is in position. There we go. Push it down with one finger and snug it up. And again, it's 0.04 inches in the back and 0.02 inches for the top and bottom gauge. Okay. Okay, I can hear that it's got a little looseness. Okay, let's listen. Hardly any play at all, really. And I can see that this side needs to be adjusted as well. It's actually touching the top guide, which may interfere with the blade. Maybe my adjustment. So we're going to loosen these all up. So all 4 of these Allen keys are loosened up on this side. I need to double check now that this side wasn't kind of pinning the blade down in an awkward manner. Really, I should have adjusted this with all the guides loose. So I'm going to put my feeler gauge back in here because it feels tight on top. Yeah, it's tight on top. So yeah, I did it wrong. So first we're going to go front to back. So we've loosened up the bolt on top. I have to grab my .040 feeler gauge and finesse it in there behind the blade. Against the roller. Okay, there we go. All right, and then we're going to tighten up the bolt that's underneath it. Okay, tight. So it should be just clearing the roller, and I think it's a little too tight. The problem with this feeler gauge is that it's so short that the axis on the feeler gauge itself right here, this thick axis right here between that holds all the feeler gauges, it kind of gets in the way. So I'll see if I can find one. And these are so rusty you can't read them. Get yourself some good feeler gauges. The problem with these is that they're so wide. Oh, okay, this is going to work. Maybe. No, again, the axle's in the way. If I go this way. Be prepared because you will bloody your fingers up really good working around this blade. Okay. So, there we go. So, there we go. The longer feeler gauge in this case helped, and I snugged it up. But see, it's so tight, it doesn't want to, as you snug it up, it seems that it doesn't want to release the feeler gauge. So it doesn't really have the clearance you think it does. Should bend it and get it in there, huh? No. Let's try this again. This might be the hardest job. So, the idea is to just come in loosely. You see what's happening as I tighten this up is it's twisting and pushing the axle forward, making it hard to get the feeler gauge out. And if it's hard to come out, it's not actually at the depth you think it's at. So, pardon me while I try this for the 5th time. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add another feeler gauge in here. I'm going to add a little bit more thickness, and then when I tighten it down and pull it out, I can recheck it. So I tightened it. It's actually a bit more than I needed. See, now I feel like that worked. That feels better. Okay. I think we got it. Now we got to repeat that for the upper and the lower. So let's do the same thing. Let's get this feeler gauge in there. And we want 0.020. I'm going to push down from the top. Just gently hold it there. And I'm going to slowly snug it up from both sides, because if I crank it, if you crank it, it's going to pop up. This is a pain in the butt. +13 plus 12 plus 6. This is what we want right here. There we go. So what I did was I took the 13, a 12, and a 9. So together we're talking about 31, 32, 25. I think this is a 9. No, it's an 8. Right? So I used 0.032 inches total, snugged it up, took it away, and remeasured it, and that works out to be about 0.025. If you hear that, that's perfect. Should be 0.020. I'm a little bit loose, but that's what I've got to work with. And in fact, in the directions, they just say a thick piece of paper. So I don't think it's like mission critical to have it dead on the exact measurement. Doing the bottom one should be a little easier because I'm not going to have tension. Okay, so I topped off the water. I put this log on. This is just a skinny log, and it's very dry. It's cracked. If I'm going to mess any of my cuts up today, I'm going to mess this cut up because I don't care about this log very much. It would be nice to get a piece of lumber out of it, but if I don't, no big loss. So the difficulty I'm having is that the lubricant's not coming out. And If the lubricant doesn't come out, well, then we have a problem. There we go. Now it's coming. Yeah. Strange. Wow. All right, let's give it a try. So excited I forgot my hearing and my safety glasses. Shame on me. Okay, let's give it a try. So compared to cutting with my 36-inch chainsaw mill, which would have taken me half an hour to cut, well, to set it up and then to cut, compared to turning this on, letting it warm up for a minute, and then slicing through, I don't know, what did it take, 10 seconds to get through this log? Now granted, this is a skinny log, right? Very thin, I don't know the dimensions, but maybe 8 inches at the most. And just slice through it like butter. This is gonna be really great.